Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to the Alchemist The Oracle, a space where we engage in spiritualized conversations that deepen understanding, inspire transformation, and spark meaningful dialogue about life's most profound truths. I am Nicole of The Oracle, and I am joined by my amazing co-host, Warrioress Artist RN, the Alchemist. Welcome to the Alchemist and the Oracle channel. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe, share, and join in this conversation. So today I've been told that she's asking questions about me. So boop, balls in your court.
Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. I appreciate my partner here taking and introducing. Please like and share and comment. We look for your comments and what you think in reference to our work in the segment we're doing here. So I want to begin to understand what it is, and of course, the soul knows already. But I want the people to know what it is. Um, um, what does being an oracle mean to you personally? I would like to be an oracle. Yay!
To me?
Yeah.
So the
other questions come up later.
So the question is, what does it mean?
What does being an oracle mean to you personally? That's the one I chose.
Well, I was told that I was an oracle, so there's that.
Okay. Yeah, word. Word.
So an oracle is someone who sees through the fog. So I'm like really comfortable in being in the shadow parts. I'm comfortable being in the darkness with people. And I think because I'm very comfortable in those spaces during the day, I'm able to see on like that dual level. It's really hard to put words to what it is too. So I may sound completely crazy as hell, but it really is something that you can't really put words to it because it's an experience. It's experiential. So for me, being an oracle is someone that can read in between the lines, that feels people without them saying a word. Like I can read people really, 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 really well. And it has served me in my various career moments of life.
I think it's wonderful. I think it's awesome.
You think
I
it's
do.
wonderful. Some people think it's
Huh?
unnerving. Some people think it's unnerving. It
I
unnerves
know.
them that I can be like, wait, how does she know those things? Like,
Yeah, I
but
mean,
it is what it is.
yeah, it's kind of, well, and the questions will come up down the line, and you'll probably, end up answering that with the ones coming up is trying to understand the dynamics of our beingness, and the giftedness. And another question will come up about that. And even when we look at, mediums. And I just think it's just awesome that people come into their true selves or get more of the understanding of that and the connection,
Yeah.
with the divine, universe, creator, whatever you choose, because it doesn't really matter. It's just one. And we appreciate that on all levels. So my next question would be actually just for a moment is, and I wasn't sure I was going to ask this one, but it just told me to mark it. So I just did. So it's like,
Okay.
where was there a moment when you realized you were, except for the fact you just said that you were told? And then the other one is, did it unfold over time? Did the role unfold over time?
I realize I always have been like this as a child. I used to have these tea parties and would have my stuffed animals around the table and I would have like these full-on conversations. And my mom being mom, I think because my mom was like, do you, even though I may not understand it, as long as she's not like blowing things up. Cause I had an older brother that was like blowing stuff up. So I think because I was just such a different child, she was like, she's not like destroying anything. Go forth and do you. Um, but when I reflect back, I have always been connected on that level to like I was just connected to God where I could have conversations and I would receive responses back um and I'm like I'm in relationship with like my ancestors and in such a way but what happened, and I think it happens for a lot of people, is that you get into the educational system and it's like, okay, well, I need you to be like this. And it was just always so much a challenge. And so, I assumed the
Right,
role
right, right.
of so and so. And so that part of me really kind of got quieted down. But
Yeah.
I still would listen to my intuition and I would get like feedback from people like instantly. I was able to like see things around people and be like, that person, no, stay away from them. Or I always remember my grandma telling me this, and I still carry it with me. And I understand it a lot more as an adult. And she was saying that she likes to know where people stand. So if you're a racist, if you're homophobic, if you love cats, if you love dogs, if you're a guard, like let me know who you are because then you know where people
Mm,
stand and it's okay. Let them stand where they are. And what I've built upon that is let people stand where they are, reveal who they are. But I hope that they expand and connect back to choosing to be in connection with God.
mhm.
As an adult, and we've kind of had this conversation offline, is that I've come to realize that you have human beings that are just in human form. They're not beings. They've choose to not be connected to God, which
Yeah.
a lot of people think I'm crazy when I say these things.
Well, crazy is crazy does. I mean, oh, crazy as our as our mentor
But
said, but I say I'm crazy good.
how does because Iyama Van Zant, she says all the time,
Yes,
like
we are
we
all is
crazy as
crazy.
hell. Humans are crazy as
Yeah,
hell.
yeah. That's exactly what she says.
Yeah, we crazy as hell. And we are. We're neurotic.
Yeah.
We are.
I guess the different versions, yeah. It's just something that you have to you have to realize and understand that part of you. Well, I wasn't
Yeah.
going to ask this one, but this is something that I'm sure may come up in the audience, which to me, I think believe that they may just be similar, is describing the difference between an oracle and a psychic or intuitive. So,
I think an oracle could be both. I think
hmm
it's kind of more like an umbrella categorization.
Yep.
Um, I don't know, like I know people who are, I would say psychic, where they make
hmm
predictions and what have you. What I've come to realize is if you quiet yourself enough and you're able to like not be in the world, like not of the world, but just be in it
Uh-huh.
and observe it, you see the signs everywhere. You see it
Yep.
everywhere. And so I think some of it is some people are just so good at tapping in so quickly that they're able to quiet their mind and read the energy at a very subtle level, right? They just see just the subtle like starting, like it just like tap down in versus, where we are now, it's much more blaring loudly, like this is the reality of what's going on in the world. So I think it's just and I do think you just have some people that are just born that way. They're just
Mm-hmm.
born that way. They have the capacity to tap in. Um, and you have to invite in that connection if you want to connect in to the world, or I don't even know what to call it, but like that spirit side of things.
Into the realm. I call it the
This
divine realm. I prefer that.
there's like different realms
Yeah.
as well. There's different realities. There's different timelines playing out even here on Earth, but there's like different
Mm-hmm.
access points and what have you. So it's just your willingness to be open to your capacity to allow that connection and that flow state, because it feels really weird to tap in energetically because it goes against how society teaches us, or how
Exactly.
society allows us to do those things.
Or
Because
not want us to tap into it.
yeah, because when you tap into
Period.
that, it leads into that intuition. You really start
Mm-hmm.
to cultivate your intuition in such a way where it pushes out the programming that's going on in the culture, in the society.
Yeah. It's just like I am gonna choose to read the piece that I wrote so many years ago. I mean, I've read it, but now the dynamic of it is so it's so even deeper and so true, and what's happening, transitioning into true self and beingness and understanding. It's just like Eastern culture and medicines and things that come from the earth that help.
Right.
The other thing that I didn't mention was about, I think that on the same lines of Oracle is mediumship, is receiving. I think this question is going to come through where you'll answer my next one, and
I do want to say this.
mhm,
It kind of goes back to what I said previously, right? You
right.
have these different, everything is not aligned with the highest God. That's how I look at it. I think you have the highest God, and then you have different other entities that people can choose to disconnect that alignment with God, the highest God, and they go with other fill in the blank.
Hmm.
Uh, with that, you have people who are not connected to the highest God, that are
Hmm.
mediums, that are psychics, right?
Hmm.
That are speaking from that connection point.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of mediums that it goes back to you really my point is you have to be really careful who you allow to prophesize over you. I always remind my uncle
I
saying
gotta
that.
agree now.
And my uncle was a pastor, and I learned a lot of things from him about like the Bible, that like very controversial conversations that we would have that would like
Hmm.
blow people's mind about the Bible and what have
Hmm.
you. But you have to be really careful who you allow to prophesize over you. And I like to
I would
empower
agree.
people to cultivate that connection to their highest God, so you can get those downloads and those messages around the world and the people that are around you, so you can understand and anticipate the what's playing out karmically. And I think of karma as like cause and effect. That's how I look at karma.
Right.
Karma is cause
Yeah,
and effect.
I like
So
that.
I just kind of wanted to make that distinction and to remind people that there's some people that are psychic, there's some people that are mediums, there's some people that read cards. And I think like tarot cards is another one where it's all about your interpretation of the cards. And I do read tarot, but I don't read it in the traditional sense. I don't really call myself a tarot card reader because I don't
Mhm.
know the meanings of the cards in that way, because my connection in I use the cards in a way to help guide what I'm sensing and attempting to verbalize in a human capacity to understand the messaging, because
Mhm.
we get signs all the time, but it's how do I interpret it, how do I understand what
Right, right.
I'm seeing. I think a lot of times people, they're just not learned in that, they don't recognize it. So I just wanted to kind of make that distinction that, again, everyone is not aligned to the highest God. We get to choose. And some
Yes, we do have
people
choice.
have chosen otherwise, and they have disaligned from the purpose of being in the energy of love and light.
Yeah, yeah. So true, so true. Yeah, yeah. Intuition is a whole different thing. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
So that explanation and understanding that, and I like mediums. I like that, and I think Oracle is kind of has a little bit of has that connection and things of that. Like I'm very intuitive and all about transformation and transforming and picking up. And as we continue to grow, I've seen and listened and heard, and even through some of our other, warrior piece and this and that and more, is that as you continue to up level and come closer to yourself, you start getting the signs, and people are starting to see that, and not so many that, and they're knowing, and so they're growing and rising and awakening um, to that and what they mean, and so I help people try to distinguish when they start seeing these, and even animals. This candidate and I went to Fixins and went to somebody's place that they were renting this really beautiful house, this and that. And I had left the room and they found a candidate and I had never seen it. I had heard about this particular insect that looks just like a leaf. It would have been so great to see it. And this scared the other person away, screaming, heard, and I'm trying to come back in and it actually left. I would have loved to see it. And then I told them that that was a message. How do you see something like that just come up and it was a message? And then when I had them and we looked into the message and I showed them this is what it means. And it was so deep. And the girl, she ended up speaking about it on her podcast. And so I just know that I was getting more in tune. And that was a year after our initial, switch training, going down to her fixings down in Boone, which was really, really awesome, and understanding more and more um, as you come closer and up level and awaken and learn that you start seeing more things and wonder, and then to let you know that, and that's one of the that's a good thing, to know that and feel that. So my next question is, what does it feel like? I chose this one. What does it feel like when guidance or insight comes through for you? What was it like for me,
It
which is different.
depends. Like if
Hmm.
it really does depend. It meets the guidance meets me where I am energetically. So if I'm in a very quiet state, it'll come very quietly. If I'm in a chaotic state, it meets me energetically. It'll be chaotic and it may be a person that's being like aggressive, or I may be experiencing it as like aggressiveness. Um, so it's not, it doesn't look the same every time. It's how I would answer that. I think what you're probably trying to, I'll say this, the more you connect to that that download, that energy, you feel it when it comes to you, when it does connect in. But the energy of it feels very different. It, like I said, it meets you where you are. And like prime example is, if I'm doing readings for people or like doing energy work on people, it meets you. Like I have a friend who, whenever I do readings for her ancestors are so aggressive. They're so aggressive. I'm just like, oh my God, why are y'all so aggressive? But what I realize is it's meeting her where she is energetically. And they're aggressive because they're like, one, they're just really eager. Like, oh my God, someone hears. Please pass the message along. And they're like, no, you need to do it this way. What are you doing? And so she's able to hear it because it's meeting her where she is energetically. So it's,
That's
I think it's
really,
much more interesting when I'm like, get messages for other people. That's always the
yeah,
most. Sometimes I'll start laughing or I'll be like, really? You're really doing it that way? But okay. So I'm
that's
being
so
told,
cool.
as you've experienced, where I'm like, I'll interrupt you to like, okay, I need to interrupt you. I'm being told to tell
Yeah,
you this. And I just
yeah,
say it. And a lot of times I recognize the energy of it
yeah,
before and after. I 9 times out of 10, I don't remember what came through.
do. I just for everybody listening, I'll just tell you, it's pretty amazing actually. I mean, I would think that a time in my life because of being in society and what's have you and this and that. I'm telling you, just being the person that I realize as I go back into childhood and realize I was that connector or that person who was really tired. I had my own room. Sometimes I felt like I was alone and what I, just speaking or just my thought processes and things were just so Nick and I was not understood, still not much understood, but that's okay. But it's
Uh, yeah,
amazing. Yeah, God, not understood. Yeah, Lord. And then to have answers of no that, oh, okay, okay, we get it now that they've crossed and it's just so cool. It's just
yeah,
cool. I'm just telling you, it's just cool. I mean, there's a time and I never really taboo because there's a part of me that just kind of felt this cosmic or this life or this just the just that's why I guess I always stay so calm or level-headed or able to continue to do stuff after certain things happen to me because of that connection. That's the only thing I can think of how I survived and then hey didn't become bitter, didn't do this because of the higher level
yeah,
in me, you know?
yeah. It's like that reminder that this too shall pass in terms of our time here on
Ooh.
earth. Like it's just a blip in the, bloop, like because I went to a funeral
Just wrote a poem on this Tuesday past. Go
last
ahead.
week. Oh, okay. This is a sign. I'm speaking to you about this. There's a
Oh
sign.
my
But it's just like, the death and funerals and my, my exposure to funerals is, I don't know if I've ever told you this, honestly, but my grandparents owned a funeral home.
God. Mm-mm.
I didn't think I told you this. And so I
Mm-mm.
grew up in a funeral home.
Ooh,
And so I have,
couldn't do it. Couldn't do it then.
but if you grew up around it, you don't know anything different than it.
Well, true.
Seriously, you don't know
I
anything
believe you.
different than that than what it is because that was our normal. Like we played in caskets and we would hide in them. But we had no like
Well, kids, yeah,
where would
yeah,
we get
yeah.
the idea that there's something wrong with doing that? Now we
That's
didn't
true.
get in the caskets with the bodies, but
Of
there was a
course not. Yeah.
showroom where they had
Yeah.
the caskets and we
Yep.
knew that those caskets were not there was not going to be a body put in those caskets. And but what I also learned is to have deep reverence for the families. And I
Right.
realized early on that funerals are for the living, not the dead. The dead are gone.
That's right. They've left
And
body.
I remember so the embalming where they would embalm the bodies was separate from the funeral home. It was like in the back. And my grandfather would always kind of have like the windows open. So, like
Hmm.
I don't know if you heard this, like when a soul crosses, open the window so their soul can actually leave, doesn't get trapped.
Ah.
Um, but we weren't allowed to be in with the embalming because we were told that it was disrespectful.
Hmm.
It was
Hmm.
disrespectful, and we always were taught to respect the body and what have you.
Right.
But so I have a very different connection to death. I look at
Hmm.
death as a gift. It's this
Hmm.
beautiful gift that we get to leave this place that is really hard to be
Yeah.
here. It's a
Yeah.
hard, destabilizing world that we live in. And I think because of how I see things, I'm excited. It sounds really morbid, but I'm excited to die. I'm not afraid of dying. I'm not,
Uh,
because I go
I,
back to God. And on that side, it's good. There's no pain. There's no war. Like everyone is allowed to be as they
nah.
are because there's this great reverence and like unconditional love, and everyone is aligned to the highest God. So you're not having to have those energies trying to siphon your energy and disconnect you from that. It's
I
just,
understand.
yeah.
Well,
So,
I'm getting more to understand that because you're saying that, and then the movie The Shack came up to me again. So, you know how I feel about the movie,
mhm.
and the movie Soul.
I haven't seen Soul. I need to see it. I haven't
I
seen it.
love that movie. And then it takes me back to this true story out of Western Nebraska, since I spent many, many decades in that state, called Heaven is for Real. And we need to be living heaven on earth. But when you talk about, because I met a guy back in Tulsa, for example, and I was trying to get my pictures transferred over at Wally Mart and onto a CD and things of that nature, because I needed to try to free up this camera I had, because I was trying to take pictures of Route 66. I have to find that CD so I can get them out. I'm hoping to drive on it, 1212. So, and when it's just like I meet people, and it's like we just start talking like we know each other. You know how it is. So, and he's in there, we start talking, and he's like, well, he's here, he's out of town. So he's here for a funeral, and I like to use crossing because I don't like using dead, because we're just not in body anymore. And so,
It's
because
the,
people said when you're dead, you're gone. I'm like, no, 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 no,
it's the
no, no, no,
body
no.
that's dead because the body has died out. It's
It well
different.
doesn't have life in it anymore.
Yeah, so it's
Exactly,
dead.
yeah. So, but when people do it, they talk about the person, and I have to go where I'm talking about my soul, my spirit, and get people to understand that part. But
Mhm.
he was like, we were talking about, and I went, oh, and this, and he's like, no, 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 it's a celebration. So I've heard the term going from some of the elders where that had heard where you celebrate the life that's crossed and you mourn the life that's coming in the world. Like babies, where we celebrate that, we do just the opposite. And the reason why we would do most of just the opposite in you is that we get attached to the person in body. And we miss them, we do all that, but
It's a
knowing,
soul
yeah,
tie. It's that soul
yeah,
tie. Yeah. And I think that's the
but we're
heartbreaking
still
part of
tied.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's different. It's a different energy. And I think, I acknowledge the difference in energy. And I'm aware that if you're not energetically open to connect in that way, you have no, like, you're not feeling into to that energy that for some people is around them.
Still mourning, yeah,
So that's
yeah.
why some people are just utterly
Devastated.
devastated
Yes,
when
yes.
people they lose
Crossover.
people here on this side. They're just devastated, and they feel lonely and very disconnected in that way. It's because
Yeah.
they can't feed into that energy for whatever reason. And there's different reasons. A lot of it has to do with the world. The world
Yes,
wants us
mostly.
to the world wants us to fear death. Because again, it's
Yeah.
the gift of God.
Yeah, wow. Because,
So you have
one
to
of my
think about like
other,
why are they pushing a narrative of be afraid of the gift of life?
I'm working on that still. That's, understand that one of my other mother, she was one of our managers, one of the coaches, played some serious softball in this town. Being all black, actually, female softball team, actually. And Mama Gas, she actually, I remember talking with her, and I at that time I didn't get it, early 2000s, mid 2000s, something, right before, and we had the conversations, and she said, I didn't comprehend it then, and still working on it. And she said, I'm not afraid, I'm not afraid, I'm not afraid, I'm not afraid to die. I'm not afraid to leave. And I'm like, okay. And
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if
it's
you've
crazy.
ever I've kind of toyed with the idea of becoming a death doula. Um,
I've heard of that
but
now.
I'm not entirely sure that I don't think my energetic profile is set up for that continually to support in that way. But I've had experiences where I've been around people when they have passed. I used to work in a nursing home, and you know, a lot of nursing homes are like the stepping stone towards death. Honestly, depending on the quality of the nursing home. And the nursing home that I worked in was not the greatest quality one, which was really kind of
Yeah.
sad. So there was always people just dropped in and kind of left behind, and there was just a lot of dying. And
Mm,
it's
true.
interesting to kind of see when people cross over like that moment.
Mm,
There's different levels to it, but there's a moment where you can tell, oh, they're gone. Like their soul is out of their body, but their body is still here, their heart is still beating. Like, so that's like one experience that I've had. And then there's
wow.
also one where it's so quick that they're just gone like that. And then there's another one where you witness them, their soul leaving their body, where they're being met. Like my uncle, when he passed, my
Wow.
aunt told my mom that, you know, like right before he just kind of stopped flailing around and got really calm briefly, and he called out to my grandmother, and he was gone.
Yeah, I mean, oh wow. If y'all still here with us, that this is profound stuff. I mean, it is what it is, and we have to be okay to embrace and to understand this and see. I believe I've told you, I don't know, but the experiences that I have, I know that you know that my mother crossed over beside me 8 years ago, May 9th.
Yeah.
My soul and my spirit knew, but I didn't. That's a difference because of what I said, because of what I experienced. And what I said is I woke up out of a sound sleep. And I said three times, it's really, really, really quiet in here. Well, I said really, really three times, quiet in here. And then I just, without a hesitation, because I was just waking out of sleep, like, it's really, really, really quiet in here. And I said, God, you must have quieted mama's breathing down. I said, that's good. I exhaled and I turned back over. Not my soul, no, that she was leaving. I was connected to her breath. Huh? Firstborn.
I
And
feel
and it took a while for
you're
me to
firstborn.
to to do that. I'm firstborn, yeah.
So you were right there with her,
Yeah, I was right
like
next to her.
during
She was
her
in her cover and
transition.
I was in my and didn't know it. And then not long after that, it got frigid, butt naked, below zero type cold in this room.
Sorry,
And
I
I
mean to
wake
laugh.
up.
The butt naked cold part. Why are we butt naked?
That's the way I describe it. I don't say it any other way each time I say this. And and I laid up.
Mm.
It's cold, and I was gonna lay back down. Then I was like, I'm like, it's cold in here because if I'm this cold, then she cold. And so we normally kept the vent closed because you sleep in a cold room. I still sleep very cold to this, really, really cold to this day. And I went and I opened it up and then I laid back down. And then because I didn't want the stuff and the breathing in the room because there's no exchange vents in the older homes. We have this exchange of air. It's in the hallway, similar to my home office here. So and I jumped up and I closed it, and then I went back, woke up in this whole process until I realized before that she hadn't got up to get up, close the door, which I wouldn't have breathed because she didn't want to wake me, so she would close the door, and was supposed to go somewhere. So it was this whole transition. Then the other, when we look at intuitive, because this is what we're talking about, since I'm asking the oracle questions, and I have a couple others, I might skip this one since we're kind of here, but maybe not. And you talk about then in 2021, I literally awoke along with family and grandchildren and siblings. My best friend growing up um, experienced her crossing, literally. And so we had surrounded her, didn't know what was going on. She was on the medicine, but I knew she knew I was around. Got to spend a little bit of time. Then they moved her from the bedroom to something else. And this is, I didn't get to experience this process with my mother. I guess this was hospice at home or whatever they called it, from her passing from dysfunction of cancer. And so I really, everybody was going around, one of the youngest, and going in, and it was just like, it was this pull and tug because she's still holding on. Did you leave? Are you gonna leave? And this and that. And so I remember we just surrounded the bed, surrounded the bed. They had put it in this dining room area, and surrounded the bed, and we all had a little toast. The kids, everybody's around, and we toast to her, and we say, "It's okay, you can go. We're gonna be all right." And no sooner than we did that, I don't know, it had to be more than pin drop quiet in this room. And we could hear, I said, I could hear her heartbeat. Well, we all did. And all of a sudden, it just started to beat real hard. And then it was slowly, you could hear the heartbeat just slowly go down and slowly go down. And we was like, she gonna say, nope, nope, nope. So I'm the one holding space in the room. And I'm like, nope, she ain't gone yet. She ain't gone yet. She ain't gone yet. And we're there, we gone. And then everybody just scattered. I stayed around the body a lot. And then the grandkids get off, said, just don't lay on her too hard. It was an experience. It was something. So when you understand the spirit and the leaving the body and the hear that is that you can't make this shit up, okay? You just
No, you
can't.
can't. And
You
it's
can't. That
in
was
those
something.
moments that remind you of the magicalness of where we're from and what's poured into us, but we're in this state of delusionment that or dysfunction or being told that we're crazy, thinking that this is real, that this happens on that level. If it can happen when we cross over, what do you think is happening day to day?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's amazing. I mean, if I was just solely left, she was holding on. She was holding on until we said
Yeah,
that was just she's like, okay, I can go now.
it's an
It wasn't
interesting
easy. It was
experience.
rough on the kids. Yeah.
And I think it's all okay because it's that like the energy of the soul connection, it instantly shifts. It's just
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
different. You it's just different. And I
Yeah.
think it's important to honor how you feel and you can be sad and also feel a great sense of reverence that they're, as they say, in a better place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 Awesome. With that being said, um, This here question is more about like serving others as an oracle, and you can probably chime in this real quick. And I have some really other cool questions that I think um letting people know, the essence of oracleness. Yes, yes, my dictionary. Yes. Who tends to come to you for guidance, and what are they usually seeking? But do they come to you for guidance?
You mean people or like on what level?
People.
Human people,
Whatever.
like
Yeah, human people.
clients?
Yeah,
Okay.
human people.
I thought you were talking about like,
Yes, I'll be
okay.
clear.
You,
Human
you got to be
people
clear.
serving others here. Yeah.
Okay, repeat the question again and make sure that
Um,
I heard
who tends to come to you for guidance, and what are they usually seeking?
safety and comfortability in their body. And that's what they're seeking. And honestly, any and everybody. It's like the most random mix of people.
Okay,
It's
cool.
people older than me, there's people younger than me, there's like people who are white, Asian, South Asian, from India, black, like it just runs the gamut. It really, really does.
That's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. Well, that's cool to know. And what are they usually? Oh, never mind. You said comfort and
Oh,
things of that.
see,
Yeah, I agree with that. I get that. I get
but
that because
it's at different levels. It means something different specifically, but that's how I would categorize it
that
is
makes sense.
because that's the human disconnection from their beingness that a lot of people are challenged with. That's what the awakening, like that people
Yes.
talk about, is awakening to the reality that you are a being,
Yeah.
a human, and
Yeah.
that the awakening that where we are, we're like they say, like we live in an upside down world or backward
Hmm.
world, and I really do believe that we do, because why
Yeah.
is human before being and how we talk about ourselves? A lot of time it's to the
It's
point
about
where the
being
being
human.
part. No, it's about we're beings and we're having a human experience.
Experience. That's what it would. Yeah. That
But
right there.
now it's to
Yeah.
the point where we don't even call people human beings. It's like human. Is even now it's like not even that. We don't even use the word human to describe people.
Mm,
It's
mm.
more of like identification qualifications that are man-made, like what race are you? What gender are you? Like what does
Yeah.
all this even mean?
Yeah.
Why
I
does it
don't like
matter?
labels. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Try to do them. If I choose a label that I'm good with, which is happy, gay happy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why people come to me. But it presents, sometimes it'll present differently. Like prime example, and I've gotten to where I don't like to do readings anymore. Like people like, hey, can you do a reading for me? Like, no, I only do them if I'm guided to do them. Because
Right.
what happens is, and I'm one person that listens to my intuition, but
Yes.
so many
It's
times when
best.
someone is like, hey, can you do a reading or give me some insight around my career? Like, I want to know
Right,
about
right,
my
right,
career. And I sit down
right.
and I'm like, that's not the right answer. That's not what they need to know right now.
Mm,
And I'm just like,
mhm.
I don't want to hear that. They're not going to want to hear that they need to focus on their relationship with themselves. And it always goes back to that relationship with yourself. If you're having challenges in any of the life areas, it's an indication of a lack of love in connecting to yourself in some capacity. Just
Because it
looks,
says the soul knows. Yeah.
soul always knows.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, oh my God, it's just like when I talk about the human body. So when I talk about the human body at the cellular level and knowing what I know, coming from what I've come from physically and learning what I ended up learning and spending 8 hours on my birthday in 2005, connection because of a paper that I wrote even when I was in school about cancer and the reference to nutrition instead of working on this, that type or the breast or the this and that and the things I experienced in my family. is that I knew that there was something more. But with that being said, the body knows. So the body knows is like when I was starting to incorporate like a nutrient tech, which comes from food for me is a healer. And I know that I have to stay in tune and stay that even with the things that they're doing for it. But what you're talking about is that is that the body knows. So when I was in coming this, I was going through all this. It's like, well, they're saying, well, the body will tend to what it will find detrimental first. So when you're talking about the energy of somebody else, you're talking about that. As well says not what you want to know right now. It's saying that you need to do this right now, and not so much about that. So not so much about the career, but what comes to you that they need to know in that moment. And then we have to accept that in that moment to work on that.
Yeah,
And where the body just knows what to
that's the
work on.
bleeder, right? It's the
Yeah.
bleeder. Like you think of like when they do surgery and they go into like, oh, we're going to repair this, and there's like a bleeder, like, oh, there's a bleeder, and it takes you away from focusing on what you originally were going in there to work on.
Word.
But you know this, and the more you work with clients is that you recognize that you go into the pain point and it's like, okay, you go in, you're like, oh wow, okay, that's the pain point, but whoo, there's something tied going over here and over there, and they may say like, I'm feeling it in my, like I'm having headaches, and it's connected to like their kidneys or their right toe or something like that. Um, that was just super random, the right toe
That,
part,
yeah.
but
Okay. Word.
but you start to realize that the pain point is is your is your body, as you say, the soul communicating that there's something out of alignment. There's something that needs your care and attention. That's how I look at it. What needs care and attention? What is causing the discomfort in your body? That's what I say. People come to me, they're seeking comfortability in their body and thus in their life. So there's some type of misalignment with that. The
Yes.
body is always
Yes.
communicating. It's communicating all the time, even when we're in a state of equanimity or when we're in a state of full on chaos and dysfunction and we're like bleeding out and what have you.
Yeah, it's just like being in 24-hour excruciating body pain 24/7 for 3 years straight apart. Yeah, I understand that. So yes, the body, when
Yeah.
you're trying to do some business where the body's like, it's hard for you to do that when you're feeling like this 24 hours, sevens a day. And so I
Yeah.
had to work on that.
Mm.
So awesome. Thank you for that answer. So my next question I think is more in I just have a couple and I think that this is one of the things that maybe some people get more understanding, not just for our conversation right now, is the question I pose is what's the one thing often misunderstood about being an oracle and intuitive work? Which I have no problem because I'm very intuitive. Not the oracle kind, but
It's a
the other
really
kind.
simple answer is that I am no different than you, in that everyone has the capacity to connect in energetically for themselves. And I think I'm because I'm being called to support people in being much more empowered with themselves, understanding that no one's coming to save you. You have to save yourself. And it looks very different on different levels. Like your health is your responsibility. No one is going to care about your body more than you. And from that, no one can
Word.
understand how it feels or what you're feeling in your body more than you. Only you have that level of understanding. And so I think because I'm aware of that, just through my own health experiences and also
Mm-hmm.
seeing it play out with other people, is that you can find your way to connect in the way that to your level of understanding, because I think it's so crucial that we sit with ourselves, we have a level of awareness, that we start to understand how our body speaks to us and through us, specifically to us, because it's gonna sound and look different for every single person. Everyone has a bio
Hmm.
individualistic, like divine blueprint, like their DNA on a DNA cellular level. And so from that, you innately have the capacity to discern, to decipher the messaging and the coding on a cellular level. So thus, why not on a spiritual level? Because we're
Mm.
beings in a human body first. And
Word.
that
Yeah,
cellular DNA
that part.
coding is divine coding. It's purposeful. And you know, one of the things that I learned in my training as a health coach is like one of the things they said is like give the body given half the chance can repair itself. It can heal itself.
Oh, for sure.
And, you know, when you lean into that, you're like, what does that mean? And why is that so? Because there's a
I know.
divine blueprint, there's a divine coding or DNA that our body knows how to heal itself. It knows the code.
Yep.
It knows the code.
It needs certain stuff to do it too. And most of the time, that's what we
What
need to
it
seek out.
needs, the thing that it needs is for us to like get out of our own way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
See it play out
Mm-hmm.
all the time. People, like we talked about this earlier, like the thing that people seek for healing innately becomes the thing that they become resistance to.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you start to understand and you get to level awareness around how you respond to certain situations, you can start to anticipate those things and you can be like, okay, why do I feel this way? Why am I
Mm-hmm.
in resistance to like the like healing, allowing myself to heal? And there's so many different reasons that a lot of people kind of lean into like I call it like false beliefs
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
they
yeah,
have
yeah,
about
yeah, yeah.
themselves. So
Yeah.
everyone has the capacity to tap in. I'm not special. I always tell people I'm not special. I'm not more special than you. Maybe the
Yeah.
distinction is I'm just more open and allowing and surrendering to it. I think that is the
Right.
distinction that I would make.
So with this last one, and then I'll give you a little something to leave with people, is what are the recurring lessons that come through your work in the Oracle?
Um, I have to think about that one.
Okay. Yeah.
What is a common lesson for clients that I work with?
The recurring lessons that come
Lesson?
through your work, even through with you. I mean, because we work on ourselves, I'm working on myself. So what is a
So for
recurring a lesson that you see that come
myself,
through?
myself is to
That's it through your work, however that works.
unapologetically be my authentic expression. Just be me. Don't question it. Because like even now, you know, like a couple years ago, I would never have talked about this stuff, knowing that it was
Ooh,
gonna go out to the
word.
world. Cause
You
like
you think? You think?
um and
Yeah.
even now I know some people are gonna be like, she crazy as hell. And you know what? I've
Mm,
come to realize I was having a conversation with myself because I have them all the time.
mm,
Um, I have the best conversations with myself. I know you do too.
mm,
I answer
mm.
myself and laugh at myself, and sometimes I cry with myself.
You gotta laugh at yourself.
Um, but I lost my train of thought. I lost my train of thought. And
You
that is
said you laugh at yourself. We do these things with ourselves.
oh.
I know. I hate when that happens. You know, I know. You know, I know. You know, I know.
But you know, I realize when that
So
happens,
I'm
it's
gonna
a
get with you.
redirect. It's a
Right.
redirect to like
Right.
that's
Yeah.
not what is needed to be said at this point.
Said. Right. Right. That's what you
Put a
tell me.
period there. Boop.
Yeah. So the recurrent lesson and that not only for yourself but for others is like the work we do. And I will say that, I'm willing to coach and just message and willing to do work. But also I will offer, and it's cool, I will offer um maybe we'll do it at the end about the work, because you have to do the work, and there's some work, and our dear darling, mentor, Yana Van Zandt, has something out there. And I'll share a little bit about Awakening 1 Million, which I think has a lot to do with the work and and tying to your authentic self, which is what you were saying. And sharing that work with everybody of trying to connect with your authentic beingness. And it's like beingness. She's beingness with that. So appreciate that because I think that's what that's the call. That's the call right now. That's
I
the
will
call.
say, in terms of the clients that I work with, the theme,
Mm-hmm.
the thread of
The
commonality
recurring. Mm-hmm.
is this idea that there's so much efforting that's required to heal.
Mm.
Because, you know, I talk about this on my very like F Your High Vibes podcast,
Mm-hmm.
where I push against a lot of the narrative around healing. And it's because I recognize that even that is part of the narrative that's being pushed, that there's something wrong with you.
Few. Yep. Yep.
And I'm constantly
That's what I had to
reframing
break from.
reframing conversations with clients, and even those that I do consultations with, that I'm like, I can't support you in the way that align with your expectations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But there's always this moment of reframing, like there's nothing wrong with you. Like, and it's that's that commonality, is that
It is. It
one,
is.
and it's tied with this one, that there's a lack of people honoring their feelings. They don't feel
Mm-hmm.
like they
I know that
can feel how they feel.
feeling.
And I just remind people, it's okay to be angry. It's okay to be sad. Honor those feelings versus being the strong person. It's like looking at the role that you assume that is the
Yep.
very role that's keeping you bleeding out,
Know that oh so well.
is
Mm.
bleeding out. So those would be the two that I would say that is the common thread of commonality that I see, is having to reframe this idea that there's something
Broken.
wrong with
Yeah.
people, that there should be this endless pursuit of healing. I think it's the endless pursuit of healing, because I've come to realize that I don't want to know what you got going on an energetic level like 5 years from now. I should
Mm-hmm.
know that. And that may be very controversial for a lot of coaches. Like, what do you mean? No, you need to. No, I want to empower people to tap into their intuition. To
Yeah, yeah.
like, my purpose is to be that safe space, so people
Indeed.
can learn how to regulate and get to that level for themselves. Because
Right.
we're in such a state of fight and flight constantly in this world. If you're really tapped in and tuned in like being of the world, it's
Yeah.
gonna like drain your nervous system.
It is doing that to people. It's
And
doing that.
so I like, my purpose, my path to purpose is to empower people to start to understand how their body is speaking to them, starting to decipher it, starting to recognize it, getting comfortable. And it goes back to the purpose of spirituality, is to get to a level of self-awareness towards self-acceptance. And it's that
Yeah.
self-acceptance that reminds you there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. And yes, we are all crazy as hell, because we are beings in a having a human experience
Experience.
that is constantly attempting to disconnect us from our beingness. Is trying to flip that we're human first,
Right, right,
your
right, right.
humanness, and then it's to the point now where your beingness is not even like, they don't want you to have the sovereignty of yourself, over yourself, your inner authority and power to make choices that make sense for you specifically. And this is so important, and I'll leave it there with this point, is that it's so important for you to have a level of understanding and being comfortable with being uncomfortable and not understanding what that even means.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just going with the flow
Yeah.
and getting out of your way. Like,
Yeah.
okay. And people, places, and things will drop into your journey that will be in alignment to help support you as well. Because we're not meant to
Yeah.
do it on our own in that regard. We have to be so grounded in the directive that we can discern, oh, you're the one. You're the one that is can help support me. And you are the one that guides and directs that interaction as well.
Yeah. That's beautiful. As you said, the term is we are spiritual beings having a human experience and body. That was the
Mm-hmm.
term. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have to get it to where you understand and can feel and receive that. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
This was awesome to have conversation with you. So I have one thing that I want you to here share is what message or insight do you feel called to share with anyone watching right now? Or do you want to leave with them?
There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you that when people say you're crazy, that you're not normal, what
Embrace
does
that.
the normal, like, I guess I don't want to be normal because the normal is in chaos,
Overrated.
it's in
Yeah.
disrupt, it's in dysfunction, it's in separation. I don't, that's not normal because again, we're in upside down world, reverse world.
Yeah,
Normal,
yeah, yeah.
that's not real normal. So there's nothing wrong with you. And your sheer existence and your presence is proof of that statement, of that ultimate truth. There's nothing wrong with you. You have a purpose and you can figure it out if you give yourself permission to do it. There's nothing wrong with you. Stop trying to do too much too. I also another thing, people will be doing too damn much. Sit down
Well, that's true.
and just enjoy
Well,
your life. Enjoy your life. That's what I'm gonna say. Find enjoyment as best you can. Find enjoyment as best you
well,
can.
well, thank you, y'all. We just know ain't nothing wrong with us, so that's how we
It's
gonna
not
rock
you,
this
it's
world.
the other people. It's the other people, y'all. They the crazy ones. They just telling us we the ones that crazy.
That's right. That's right. You know my motto, my business say I'm crazy good here, and that's the truth of the matter. Well, we want to
Mm-hmm.
thank y'all for joining in. Normally, my cohort would be having it, but I'm in this message. I just want you to reflect on something that meaningful that came up for you during this journey, during this conversation. I invite you to make comments, share your own experiences, with intuition and the gifts or questions you might have on this here. Encourage you to like the channel. Yes, subscribe and share it with people, please, please, please. And we're gonna, end out on an episode that my dear and darling, I tell you, our children are very, 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 very just loving and smart and brilliant and pose to a question for us that we'll be tapping into next year. Should I share what it is or should they just join in? Now
No.
we ain't sharing, but my godson wanted me to speak about something, so it's gonna be Dave. I love him. He is something amazing. Both Tauruses and I guess we're so much alike, even though we're decades apart. That's just crazy. So thank you for joining us again. Subscribe, like, thumbs up. Have a beautiful, glorious, and awesome day. It was so good to be in conversation with you, my dear Erica. My dear darling Nick Love, Nick Love
Yeah.
is how I call you, baby. Hey, my warrior Pete. Y'all have the best, and my motto is have the best and screw the rest. You just got to do that. You just got to do it. I'm just saying.
Mm.
Much love to y'all. Thank y'all for joining. Deep bow and
Bye.
peace.